So, good evening, everyone. My name is Eugene,
Hi.
product designer from Nigeria. And okay, so today we'll just be talking about prototyping in Figma. Okay, let me share my screen. I can do that, yes?
Yes, you can do that. You can do that.
Okay.
Just by the side of
So,
your
like Joshua
screen.
mentioned, I've been on a 100-day journey of design, right? So, what I had in mind to do when the year started was get better at interaction design. So, a good way to do that was basically practicing interaction designs, right? So for a couple of weeks, I think this is the third month. Okay, the fourth month. Because in January 1st, we started it. So the idea is interaction a day basically gets you closer to being better at interaction designs, right? So what I'll basically do now is explain what prototyping is, right? Then walk us through a few of my designs that I think we could basically learn a thing or two from that are interaction based, right? And yes, okay, so prototyping, right? We, like he said, we are used to static designs that are basically flat, right? But if we want to be able to show our stakeholders and clients how the products we are working on will actually look when developed, we employ prototyping, right? Basically, puts each and every element that we have designed into a stable frame, and then we interact with it, right? So the clients will be able to say, okay, this is how it will actually look like in real life when it has come to life, essentially. So it's not so much of a tough nut to crack, right? Basically, it's understanding what prototyping is, the elements that we use to prototype, and then applying it to our designs, right? It could be web interfaces. It could also be mobile interfaces. It could even be presentation designs, right? So let's just get into it. So let's assume this is an iPhone frame, right? And want to design a product for this particular frame. So it depends on what you want to do, right? If I want to create an onboarding process for the users, right? I could basically just create the frames, line them up, and then put the elements I want to prototype. For example, we have this, right? I think I even have okay. I have some of my designs already. Um, Let me try and look for them. Can't find them. Okay, anyhow, I have, let's say we have this guy, right, and want to create an onboarding process for it. So how do we go about it? Basically, onboarding has an image, right? Let's assume it's our image element. Usually it has a couple of texts. Then have this as well, for example. And then a button. So want to basically create an onboarding process for this, right? So this is the first screen, for example. Then we have this. Let's say this were to be colored, for example. Then let's say we have this and this on the third screen. So This is a couple of frames lined up, right? We want to project it for our clients to see. So what we can basically do is, like I said initially, we need to understand the elements that makes up a prototype, right? And the first one basically would be the connectors. So we have these guys. See these plus icons. Usually, it only displays on frames. So once you start to prototype, you may encounter a common issue where you want to prototype a grouped element. That may not particularly work, and the issue is because it's not on a frame. So be sure to always have your elements in a frame before you prototype it. So we're trying to connect these ones now. We don't want to connect via this, so let's just do this. Click on the frame, or let's click on this frame. Yeah, this frame, right? We go here. Now, this pops up. Usually, this is like the model that controls every interaction that we're going to be seeing, right? So these are like the triggers. Triggers in the sense that, okay, it's cause another action to happen, basically pause an interaction. So I'm triggering an action, right? The action could be moving from point A to point B, right? So what triggers that? Am I going to be clicking? Will I be dragging? Will I hover? As the case may be. So we'll basically now need to understand what each one would mean. So we have on click, we have on drag, we have while hovering, while pressing, gamepad, mouse enter, as the case may be. So there are lots. So the good thing is, the more you get to use this prototyping, the more you get to explore the available options that are, right? So let's say you want to click on the frame itself, right? What is interaction that we're going to choose? We could basically choose a dissolve, smart animate, move in, move out. So now let's do a dissolve, right? It's a subtle interaction that we're going to be doing here because it's just a color change that we're going to be seeing. So let's choose dissolve, right? Now we have a timing feature. So interactions are always time-based, right? So what timing are we working with? This is in milliseconds. It's a lot smaller than a second, right? So we need to know the time we're going to be using. So let's use 800. It's almost a second. So let's use 800, right? Now the next frame, let's click on this. Click as well. The previous settings were moved to the next one. So let's say we want to use smart animates here. It basically means that we are going to experience a movement of elements from point A to point B. So let's do that first. So let's see what we can do. We will basically now be playing the flow here. Let me share this screen instead. Can you see my screen still? And please, if I'm too fast, I know I talk quite fast. Let me know. Hi, Joshua. I need a response, please. Awesome.
Yes, I can hear
Awesome.
you. I can hear you.
Okay, then.
And I can see.
So let's see what happens here. So remember I said it's a subtle interaction we're doing, it's just subtle change of color, right? So you notice that the time it took was really, really long because the time we chose was about, sorry, let's see. Let's share this one first. The time we chose was about almost a second, right? 800 milliseconds. That's why it took so long. So let's see what happens again. 800. See what happens. So notice the timing, right? Now let's change the timing to something else entirely. Let's see what happens. So let's say, first off, I would like to do this. Let's duplicate this to 3 different instances, right? First one, it changes color to, uh, let's say this. All right. The next one, it moves. Then the next one, let's say this one, changes color, and then it moves. So what I want us to do here is make it automatic, in that I do not need to interact with the design for it to change. So what happens is there's a feature called after delay. What after delay does is it waits a while based on your settings, then it kicks in to interact. So let's do that. So prototype. As a shortcut, you can easily just toggle between design and prototype by clicking on tapping Shift E, as opposed to you going to here, and so just Shift E changes everything. So let's do this. We click on here. After delay, the question now is how many milliseconds? Let's use 400. Let's make it quite short, right? Then the animation, let's use 400 still. And from here down, after delay, 400. So we could also group interactions and have a similar setting to all of them. So what we do is just do this and do this. So we can come here, click on this and this after delay of 400. So all of them have similar settings now, right? After delay, after delay. So let's see what happens. Hey, you were not seeing what I was doing. Sorry. So let me just go over that once more. So what I did was I basically created different frames, and I want to make use of the after delay interaction. So what that does is I do not need to click on anywhere. I just wait for the settings to kick in. So I basically did this, right? So let's look at how it would interact with each other. So notice I can replay it by tapping on arrow. This is after delay. So these are basically the kind of things you can be doing with prototyping. So with more real examples, right? I'll basically go into some of my designs from the challenge, right? So you can see how I applied prototyping. So give me a minute. Okay, so these are some of my designs, right? Let's let's come here. See, what's eight? Okay, this is, let's do something simpler first. Okay, so this is basically a simple interaction, right? All I had to do was just, okay, this is, um, let's not do this one first. I'm sorry. Let's go something simpler before this. Let's do this, right? So this is just a basic interaction. What I just did just now. Same thing, right? The only difference is there's an overlay, which is this guy here. So it applies to prototyping as well, right? So let's see how we can build something like this. So let's assume I didn't have this before. Let's start the flow from here. So flows, right? What flows mean is like um, compartmentalizing interactions, right? I could have designed a product for a mobile application, and I say, okay, the flow one can be the onboarding process, which includes sign up screens, splash screen, and authentication, right? Now the flow two could be, okay, let's say the from home screen to an interaction taking place. Like let's say it's a fintech product, right? So it could be from the home screen to having the transaction take place. That's flow two. Flow three could be, let's say, settings, right? So it depends on what you as a designer want to do. Basically, the idea is we are compartmentalizing everything. So that's that. So let's see this. So I want to do a hover interaction. Um, sorry about that. What's it called? Overlay interaction, right? So this is our overlay already created. If we do not have this, we can still make something happen. So let's say we do this, right? Okay, so let's do this. From this to this, we are using the connector to connect it to the overlay we want to make use of. So on click, which is the interaction, and then what happens is this navigates to, right? It's usually stating where you want your interaction to take place, right? So what we want to do is we want to open an overlay here. So we'll come here, click on open overlay, right? So now we have a bigger menu to work with. So we have opened our overlay now. What happens? What do we do? So we have adding a background, which is something like I said before now. So you could have like this increased as basically your preference. And then interaction as we want to actually still do. What do you want it to be like? Personally, I want to be instant. So let it be instant. It could be sort animate, right? But we can't have that here. So let's use instant or dissolve. So instant. So let's see what happens once I click on play interaction. So we have this and then this. So this is not looking so good, but we can also change it with our settings, right? So let's come down, click on this noodles, right? Now, what do we want this to look like? Where should it be placed? We come here, it's on centered already. So let's say, okay, it should be at the um, top left, top center, as the case may be, or just manual. Manual means I can basically drag it wherever I want it to be. So I want it to be here, like so, right? So let's see how it looks. We're not seeing that again. Sorry about that. So what I was saying was we can basically set how it will look like. We come here. It was in center before. That's why it was showing what it was showing like this, right? It was showing center because it was set to center like this. So let us use a manual approach to center it ourselves or to fix it ourselves. So let's use manual. So we want it to be down here, right? So let's come and view our interaction or our prototype. It's looking so out of place, right? So I need to also manually adjust it to fit what I want it to look like. So again, we now have to manually adjust. And if you think it's like too much work, you can just stick with the already existing presets, right? Click here. Let's say bottom center, right? Now, what does it look like? Like this. We could also say, okay, let it be, um, let it be bottom right, right? But there'll be not much difference because it's at the bottom and it's a really, it's covered everywhere basically. So that's that for that for the hover interaction. So let's look at something else. Let's see which other number. Okay, another thing that we would basically have to consider is when we are trying to create interactions or micro interactions, case maybe, we cannot do without creating components and instances, right? So this can be applied in this something like this. So when we say components and instances, it basically means we are creating um, a we are just creating something that shows or that enables the prototype to come alive more, right? So what that happens is we do not need to click, click, click. Like I think before, I think that was 2 years ago, we would need to create different instances manually, right? Before we can um, present what we have in mind. For example, I want to click on a button, right? On a prototype, I will need to create a screen that shows on clicked, create a screen that shows clicked, as the case may be. So creating instances, I just need to create an icon that is clicked and unclicked, and I can apply it anywhere. So I will not need to create screens for those particular instances. So this can be applied here as well. So let's say we have this now, right? These are already components that are created. So what happens is in the components, we were trying to create, let's see, let me delete everything again. So we're trying to mimic an alarm clock here, right? So the idea of that is going up and coming down, going up and coming down, right? So we have different components that are going up and coming down in terms of sizes. So we would basically use the after delay function to make it more real. So we click on a connector, use after delay function. The timing that we want, let's say it is 300, right? The wait time. The animation we want, let's say it is 400, right? Which is quite short, but let's try that for now. So it has come to a smaller size. Let's apply the same settings to it as it is growing bigger. After delay of 300 and 400. So let's continue it. Let's say it goes back to the original state. After delay 300. Let's apply this now. We just copy and then paste it. So let's see what happens when we animate that. So basically, you can notice it's increasing and reducing, right? So this is what interactive components can help you do. You don't need to, like before, create different screens that shows different instances. And there are different ways you can apply interactive components to your designs, right? Let's look at another example here. Okay, so what I did here, right? I wanted it to have like a drop down feel. It was actually for a web page, so I wanted to have like a drop down kind of feel. So what I did was I created a frame and then I added the picture inside, but I zipped it. I basically used the height to be one, right? So there was basically no space. I just zipped it up. Then on the next I created another frame, a duplicate, right? And then I had to drop it down, right? And then this is the hover state. So if you look at it now, the settings basically show that okay, this is after delay of 800 and animation time of 2000 milliseconds. And this from here to here is showing me a while hover state. So let me show you how it is applied or how it will look once it's prototyped. Let's assume this is just our frame, right? And I bring this one and drop it here. So let's play this prototype. So let me replay that. Oops, sorry. It's on my flow 4. Oh, okay. A minute, please. Let me look for the original. So this is the prototype, right? Like I was saying before, I made sure that the picture I wanted to drop down was closed. I did a duplicate of that and then I dragged it down. Then I have a hover state that shows this or that does this. So this is also a component that I created and prototyped. So it can basically be applied on different kinds of designs. Let me see if I can show you the original design where this was actually applied. Let's see. Okay, not 48. Let's see. Okay. I don't know what page number that design was, but let's see. Something similar was also done here in 48. So let's play this interaction. So what I did here, I used components as well, right? So for these components, the same thing happened after delay, although it was not the zip thing I was doing, right? But let me just show you here real quick.
Okay, Eugene, and I think I want you to take that now,
Okay.
because yeah. So Samantha says, how did you get the image to come down for the CTA button to come up in the same frame? I think that was the previous interaction you showed.
The previous interaction. How did I get the image to come down and sit to the bottom? Let me see. Is it this particular design?
Samantha, is it this or the one before this? The previous one,
The
Eugene.
previous design. The
Yes.
previous design basically just had the pictures now, no? This was the previous design. Oh, you mean this one, right? Okay. So
Yes. Yes.
let's see if I can create the same thing again, right? But I just did it individually, right? So there was no, let me just play it so you could see and I explain it. Sorry. Okay, so what I did, right? I made sure that I had the shop now down below, right? So as as I had to prototype it, it was a sort animate feature as well. So on the second frame, the duplicate of the second frame, I had to move it up, right? So in the initial design, which is this, components that we had were, notice my screen, right? We have these components. This is the shop now. It is down below, right? And then we have this, right? So from this guy to this one, it's a smart animate. Means I can basically now move elements. So as this one comes, make sure to bring this shop now up. I don't know if that's the question. Is it Samantha? Samantha. So the idea of it was to bring, okay, awesome stuff, right? Let's just continue. So this also works with the help of components, right? I created components for this particular design. So let's show you, let me show you the original designs, right? It's 48. So for this ones, right, this particular frame, it has 4 different pictures inside, right? I created a duplicate of it and then I moved the pictures out of the way. Same thing again, move the pictures out of the way. So that's why you see it is moving as it is now, right? So it's just one frame, then I move the left and then to the right, right? So let's continue. What do I have next? Same thing applies here. Same thing applies here. So in this particular page, right, I basically placed the elements I wanted to display side by side. So no big interaction here. Just that, let me show you. The only big thing that I did here, which other persons could have an easier time doing, is I created different frames. And I started from here actually, right? Started from here, and then I had to make the others invisible, right? And create frames for each of them. So this is the first frame, second frame, third frame, fourth frame, fifth frame, and then the sixth frame. So the idea of that was, okay, each one will come side by side. That's what you are seeing in this particular. Okay, that's what you are seeing here now. So I created each particular frame and then left them side by side. So let's go to the next one. Same thing also applies here, right? So the only difficulty that you may have is you may need to create duplicates of a particular element more than once. Aside that, I think we're good to go. So let's look for another one to um, look at. For this one, right, this is actually quite simple. So what I did here, I created this design, right? But then this is a moving picture. It's a GIF. What I just did was I downloaded a video, turned it to a GIF, and then I added it to a rectangle. So let's play it so you could see what it looks like. So the reason why I like this is because we get to understand, or we get to see um, it in live action, right? Right. I think it's actually a really, let's say, engaging, right, design decision to make, because it's going to, as opposed to persons needing to download or upgrade to Figma Pro, right, and adding a video to it, we just use GIFs, right? So this is an interaction that can also be used fairly easily. Let's look at another one. I think we have very, very little time to go, but let's look at one or two more, and I'll take questions. Let's see 51. Okay, so aside the design, there's nothing special here, right? So the okay, in this particular design, so the only thing I did here that was interaction based was just the hover effect that I did, right? So what I basically did was I made different components, again components, right? So this is one instance without a hover. This is another instance with a hover, right? So there were prototypes and then used in the design. Same thing applies here. One instance without a hover, another instance with the hover. But so let me show you what it looks like. Okay, so I would scroll down. Let's see. Sorry, almost many tabs. Many tabs. Too many tabs. Okay, so notice this. The only special thing here is just the hover effect, right? But then the hover gives the design a more interacting feel. Users get to, okay, I'm somewhere, right? That's only, okay, and here as well, right? So what I did, simple stuff, had a component, made an instance, another instance of that component, and then applied it to the design, really. So let's look for one more, then we open the floor for questions. Okay, so this, right, I used the while pressing, right? In this particular designs now, I use while pressing. So the idea is like you're changing wallpapers on your phone, right? So you just tap, you hold, then you swipe. So let's play this. So before that, let's see this. So this is the settings, right? While pressing was applied, and the animation was animated as well. So let's observe how it will look. Slow internet, sorry about that. Which we here. Uh, so while pressing, I tap, you observe the change, and I can change this, right? While pressing as well. I hold it, I swipe, it changes. I hold it, I swipe. Let's see. May have broken a chord somewhere, but ideally it ought to change. So I hold, I swipe, I hold, I swipe. So this they were all done with prototyping, right? So this is 10 minutes to 5, and I think we are now well underway to answer questions. So Joshua, the floor is yours now.
Yeah, thank you, Eugene. Thank you for taking us through a few of your designs. Um, it was really insightful. I think my first question is, how are you able to keep all of those designs on one particular Figma file? Like, I mean, I could see your. Do you have the 1 to 100? I mean, the 1 to 99 on the same
Yes,
file?
yes,
Okay, okay,
yeah,
and with the interactions and all of those, and just
they are
this one
all
does not.
here.
Oh, wow, awesome. Okay. Oh, so have you completed the challenge?
No, I will do the
Okay, the
last
100
one
did not hit
today.
yet today. So we should expect to see the link tomorrow
Yeah,
or today.
yes, today or tomorrow.
Okay, okay. All right. So everyone, or if you have questions, please put it up on the chat section, and then I'm sure Eugene will answer. But I also have one question. How do you? I mean, what's the word now? How do you get creative about the interaction approach to take? Considering the fact that sometimes to get some very fluid interactions, it means you have to create multiple, what's it called now? Multiple tricks, or I don't know if you understand me. I mean, you might need to blend a couple of things together. So how do you get
Hmm.
creative that, oh, this is the approach I want to take, and then, oh, these are the steps, or these are the clicks, or these are the options I'm going to use?
Okay, so the thing is, sometimes, yeah, I I don't know what to do. Right? Okay, I can have an idea that I want to create an interaction that is centered around, let's say, um, okay, so I have a theme, right? The theme could be retro, or the theme could be marriage or weddings, right? Now, I'll basically go online and see different designs that are of that similar theme, right? So I could, okay, let me show you one of my designs that I really really like. Um, where are we? So what I base, okay, I think the last one I even showed you now, right? Well, it's that one. This last one I showed you. Is it 56? No. The other graffiti looking kind of design. Okay, so this one. So I had a theme. The theme was okay, a graffiti kind of landing page for artists, right? So how it looked like, I had no idea yet, right? But I know that I want to create something like this. So I go online and look at Dribble, Google, Pinterest, as the case may be, and just feed my eyes on different designs that are already there, right? So and I bring them together and I start just dissecting them. Okay, this header looks cool. This type looks cool, right? This footer actually looks cool, right? So I bring them all together and usually I like paper and barrel. I just structure them. So there's another thing again that I do. I sometimes don't know how the flow will come out. So I just sketch it. Okay, it should the first flow could be okay, a folding interaction, right? Top to bottom kind of flow. Sketch it down. So as I begin to have one, I connect another one. So it doesn't, I don't have a hack for creativity. It's just that I do more of trial and error. So this one is what I want to do. I like how this guy did his own, right? Let's add a little bit of twist to it to my own. So that's how it all blends together and creates a creative in quote design. But as for a hack that I basically use, I would just say trial and error, right? Try it, it looks good in your eye, basically.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. So I was asking if we could get a recording. Yes, the session is being recorded, And once the session is over, there'll be one or two tweaks we get to make, and maybe tonight or tomorrow is to get the link to your email. Also, you could check up our YouTube channel. I just posted the link to the chat. Yeah, Victor, you can go ahead to post your question on the chat section. Bevy, the current settings I have for Bevy now, that's the platform you're using, does not allow um, me to approve audio for everyone yet. Still looking into that, but you could just go ahead post your question in the chat. So for everyone that has a question, kindly put it up in the chat. And yeah, thank you all for staying. I mean, for coming around and for staying till now. I hope it was insightful. One thing I would say is, I mean, which I believe Eugene would agree to, is practice. Okay, so let me take Victor's question. Victor says, my question is upon using, okay, I'm not sure I can. Using while pressing, the next frame that comes up, what is the interaction, please? Victor, please, can you rephrase? I'm having
Okay, I think I
difficulty as
understand
well
what he's
trying.
saying.
Okay, okay,
Right.
okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're using while pressing, you create the two instances side by side. So let me show you what I mean. For the last one I just showed you, the mobile application, right? While pressing was applied here, the first screen, this one, right? And the interaction that follows is this one. It's shrunk, right? So while pressing is applied before, and then the interaction that follows is what you designed for. I don't know if that's clear. So you press this screen, this one here, and it goes here, appearing to be pressed. Thank you, Bami.
Victor, does that answer your question? Samantha says your designs were beautiful. Yes, I agree.
Thank you very much.
There was this one you add. Okay, you've answered Victor. There was this one you add the images in a grid form. So I'm guessing what you did there was, I mean, delay for each of the image, right? So like an arithmetic progression.
Yeah, that's another thing. So there's lots of calculation that you need to also have in mind because you need to know the timing. Okay, if this one is sorry, I have a baby here. Chill.
Hello, baby.
So
Greeting you.
it's my niece. So you need to also have in mind that the timing what the timing matters a lot, right? So if it's after delay, right, or animations, you need to understand what timing to take. 800 milliseconds, 2000 milliseconds, as the case may be. So, like I said, for me, I don't have it down completely yet. So it's mostly try and error sometimes. But the more you get used, the more you do it, the more you get used to it. So that's the only hack I can say.
Okay,
Okay,
Elizabeth
Elizabeth
is
is
asking.
asking.
Yeah.
Okay, so for elements, right? Like I said initially, it's let's see. I have something similar. Where is it? For icons, for example. So we have something like this, right? Uh, let's add a shadow to this. So it's okay. Or let's just do this. Okay. So we have this. This is an icon kind of thing as well, no? So the interaction also applies here. So I took these icons from icons, Tabla icons, and I manipulated it to suit what I wanted to do. Right? Where am I? Okay. So for icons, the only thing that you will need to pay attention to is it in a frame? Is the most important thing. So if it's not, you may have issues there. But if it is, there's really no issue. So it's in a frame. So you move this to the right, like I did here, and change the color. So for icons, it applies to icons as well. If you want to create your own icons, you can do that. If you want to download icons to make use of, you can do that as well. So that's it. Applies to icons.
Okay, so we're expecting questions. I know we are almost at the hour mark, which I mean is the duration for the session. And thank you, Eugene.